You guys, hello. I was gonna be on Bigo, but I was like, I'm gonna do TikTok for a little bit. It's Friday night. This is my first official, no, actually my second Friday in LA. And I'm living the LA kind of dream life. As I've always wanted to be alone, like have my own place and that kind of shit. And it's not that I have my own place, but I do get to have a whole place for myself, which is a different thing. But I don't know. I just felt like this would be a good thing to do. Like get on TikTok. There are not many people there who are online. And you know what? This is also an opportunity for me to be myself. Kind of thing. So I don't know, like why not to come up with this show where I get to answer questions about my life, questions about my work, questions about anything. I get to be questioned, yes. So I have a list of questions that I've got on my DM and from other sources. So you can also ask a question directly on the chat, or you can send it via DM on my Instagram, which is soyrah_xyz. So the first question is about life and identity. Who is Soyrah beyond the name? That's about, let me get comfortable here. Gosh, is that comfortable enough? I think so. I just want to be chill, you know? So who is Soyrah beyond her identity? To me, Soyrah is beyond the identity itself. The name Soy is relevant to the idea of I am. And this is not actually what I thought of when I first came up with the name Soyrah. Like the idea was at the time to just be like using the letters of my name and turning them into an artist's name. So I was like, my last name is actually Soares, so I thought, you know, the Soares could be like soy. If we could use our last names as our own names, I was like, why not Soy? But then people started calling me like Soy, and I didn't like that because I was like, no, just Soy is just the first name for Soyrah, but just call me Rah. So who is Soyrah beyond the name? And obviously that question is probably more in relation to, is the lighting better? That question is more in relation to the identity. So Soyrah is this character that I built, who is, Alexa, next, who is extroverted, sexual, playful, careless, and loves to dance and loves to make music and loves to show up and loves to just be, you know. Since I was a child, I had this passion of expression, of like being, of like doing things, and I was repressed for that in my adult life. I was repressed subconsciously, meaning my own beliefs about myself were kind of burying that creative expression, life itself, like people, and also my partners. When Alexa, lower the volume. When I started to get in relationships, I felt like I was really trying to become something just to please that person. Not just that person, but other people who I was also related to. And because of that, I felt like my identity, my persona was being repressed. And it took me many years after really diving into that spiritual journey to realize that spirituality perhaps is more about being, like meaning who you are, like who you decide to be, being free, than actually filling your mind up with concepts about metaphysics and God and spirituality itself. And I did end up creating an identity also to express that side of me who was fascinated and curious about the metaphysics side and much like more into that spirituality while keeping that soy rap. So I like this question. Do you like being free? I mean, when I get to be free, of course I do enjoy to be free when I get to be free, but it's not like I leave fully from that state. You know, there are many occasions and people who still makes me feel a little uncomfortable with that feeling, as the judgment is coming not just from inside, that you know that those judgments that we have to really bypass, like the inner critic that we have in our brains, that voice that has been conditioned by society, by our parents, but also like there is something about that judgment that comes from a collective consciousness, and that's a belief. Okay, you guys don't have to agree with that. If being free was simply like doing whatever you want, being however you want, and you think there wouldn't be any consequences, maybe the world would be even crazier than the way it is already, right? Like there are certain limitations with how far you can go with your words, with how you treat others. And again, it's a law of karma. So you get what you give. What do you mean when you can be free? When I can be free? Yeah, so when I can be free, meaning when I feel like I'm free to express myself, when I'm not blocked. So like there will be times where, there has been times where I felt extremely shut down or closed down. And sometimes I feel like that. It's kind of like, oh, is that because you're in your head, or is it because you're like more at an introverted space, or what's going on really? There are times where I choose consciously to be at that space because I'm really working internally in my own feelings, with my own emotions, and really deepening my connection to God, to the Holy Spirit. But there are times where it just feels like I'm numbed out, like what's going on? Like there are people who reflect things about myself that I'm just maybe not ready to see it, right? So that's an example for freedom. But yeah, so just to finish up that first question, like Sora beyond the name is this character who is really about its own fantasy, its own like La La Land, and lives in pro of satisfying its fantasies, its main desires, its main passions. And those passions, if you've been following my content, if you've seen my Instagram, it's about travel, it's about music, it's about a little bit of spirituality, it's about loving yourself, it's about embodiment. So embodying the shit of you, like the ugliness, the things that you think in your head, like, oh, no one's gonna accept that. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe there are a lot of weirdos out there like you who might really relate to the weirdness that you have to show. Like me right now. You guys here, I'm not saying you're weird, I'm not calling myself weird neither, but we all have a little bit of that weirdness, and it's not really weird, it's just different than normal, you know. I think, yeah, Leon, you a weirdo. Welcome to the club. Maybe there's a better way to name, to call yourself, but just say like you're different, you're special. And those beings, those people who are special, deserve a place in the world, deserve more than they actually been getting. So Edgar Meja joining as guest, and I'm not joining any talk right now. I gotta go through this next questions here, but obviously I'll give you some attention to what you guys are putting in the comments. What's the moment that shaped who you are today? I can remember that one like very, very like straight off. This moment happened actually 6 years ago when I got out of a relationship, when I got in a divorce. So that was definitely a big thing to me. Like when I got out of a divorce, I was like, damn, I'm now ready to do whatever the fuck I want, and I don't need to be limited more to serving this person who I was with in a relationship. And that was a huge step of freedom. That was when I would say my spiritual journey really started, because like I was like, wow, there's so much inside my own being. Like, why am I looking for all these things outside when there's so much potential within me? Like, I can feel, I can think. And that was like, that awakening when I realized I can think, I can feel. Like, I'm not just this thing that happens on its own. Like right now, I used to say, maybe I'm not so much in or out, but I'm just kind of like intermediating. So like as a medium, right? So that mediumship between my internal to the external is this place I have reached after many years living from a place of disconnection. So the divorce and everything that happened after my divorce was like a big thing too, that started shaping who I am today. So maybe I'm a baby still, because it's been only 6-7 years that happened. Third question: what do you think your younger self would think of who you've become? I think my younger self would think I'm wow, that's a tough one. What would you think your younger self would think of who you've become? I think my younger self would be a little disappointed and happy at the same time. I think my younger self would say, I wish you had taken that decision, the commitment to yourself earlier. If you didn't have to go through that codependency phases in those moments where you had lived in pro of something on that drug, that feeling. For me, it was always about this high, emotionally high, that I would get from when I was in relationships. So I think my younger self would be half proud and happy and half a little disappointed. That question doesn't seem really, really hitting me, but I appreciate that, Jessie. Let's see. The next one: have you always felt different from others? Wow, yes, I have. And for a long time, I had a hard time actually really finding a place in the world, and that was what kept me perhaps really moving from relationships to relationships, and people from places to places, because I was really trying to fit in a particular community, in a particular place. And nowadays I think I've found a space, not solely in the music community, because I make music and I can connect to artists and people in the music space or people who like to travel, but more in the yoga space, in the yoga community. So there's a huge aspect of me that has been devoted to practicing yoga, to practicing meditation, mindfulness, and connecting to individuals on that field is something that really makes me feel like, oh, I have a place, I found a community. And that has been really rewarding to me to dedicate more time to develop that connection to those individuals, and not to the individuals, but to the practice itself, to committing to yoga. Let me move a little bit to relationship in love. There's some really fun key questions here. Not judging, just saying like funky for me, because I gotta answer them. What do you look for in a partner, emotionally, spiritually, sexually? So emotionally, consciously, I look for devotion, and at the same time, I feel like I haven't attracted these individuals who are available emotionally. I believe I could have made my whole self really in pro of that in the past. If I could, I wish I would have done that earlier. But again, I kept attracting patterns that were very toxic for me. So I attracted patterns like partners who were not available, when in reality I wanted availability. So what I look for in a partner definitely that emotional availability, that aspect of presence, of like, I hear you, I care about how you feel, and I don't care only about you satisfying my needs and my own emotional needs, but someone who cares about how I feel more than about how they feel. Spiritually, perhaps like similar, not so similar, but at least somehow similarities in like how we perceive the external world and how we see the matrix and how we see our connection to something higher, and perhaps someone who is connected to that same source of love, and we feel like we are really one on in the name of love, but not separate, following two opposite parties. And sexually, obviously, someone who can who cares about developing, growing our relationship sexually, not just vague or kind of like disconnected from it. Because not all men who seems to be sexual are actually sexual, okay? Like when you start to really understand how your sexuality works, it's not like you simply can forget that anymore, because you're always nurturing, you're always like clearing your sexual energy. You understand that sexual energy is like a chakra in your body, and that aspect of you can open and close just like a flower. So you do the right things to nurture that aspect of you. So I'm looking for someone who's very aware of the aspect of themselves as well, so we can kind of be on at least on the same page. The whole thing about opposites attracting relationships, I have played that game, the whole Romeo and Juliet kind of scenario. It's not real love, and that's just why the movies, you know, the romance and the fantasy movies Disney have showed us, it's always like the prince and the princess never end up together, or you know, there's always that tragedy, that aspect of like there's so many forces and they are against this, so there must be something about it, right? Why can't the prince stay with the princess, and why there's so many forces against it? Maybe because they're really not meant to be with each other. Maybe because the princess lives in its own world and the prince lives in his own world, and they're opposite because in the level the prince needs what the princess has to offer, and the princess also needs what the prince has to offer, but they can't stay together because they have to take care of their kingdoms, and the kingdoms, the castle, the kingdom is there are two places that are completely different. They are ruled by they're ruled differently, and therefore the prince and the princess is not willing to sacrifice their kingdom and the castle to be with one another. Sorry. Okay, I have a few more. What has heartbreak taught you? The same BS that everyone would probably say. Heartbreak teaches you to be tough, teaches you to have more faith and hope also that someone better is gonna show up. It has taught me that I don't need them. Like, it's Friday night. Of course I was tempted tonight to get on Bumble and just try to find a date or something, just not to feel alone. And I was like, wait, that's totally fine. Like, you know, tomorrow it's another day and there will be other things to do. It's always easier to say than to actually feel, you know, the temptation is still there. But breakups teach you how to take perhaps your life more serious, how to take care of your feelings more seriously, how to embody pain, pleasure, joy, and all the colors that comes with it. Yeah. Ooh, let me see. I'm gonna go through these questions and choose another one that's more interesting. What are you currently healing? That's a good one. So I think I'm currently healing right now. Alexa, next. Uh, what are you currently healing? Alexa, next. I think what I'm currently healing right now has to do with codependency still. I feel like 80% there. Like there's still a little 20% that I'm still healing from codependency, meaning I can be aware of the times when I miss that text message, or that I feel drawn to texting someone, or when I think of like that would be so nice to have this happening, but it's not as bad as it used to be before, at a level where I felt like I could not live without it. Therefore I would just do everything to actually like get that high, or that relationship. And I think I'm also healing like from forgiveness, like by forgiving myself, also from other silly things, that I have done in my 20s, especially my relationship with money. And I would say my healing right now is totally around just being more comfortable in different environments, which means there's some traumas related, it's still from past event, from past relationships that I see still, like that I can still see the reflection of in other scenarios in life, and I tend to not understand, when my goal now is trying to understand better as opposed to continue to run from it. But how can I understand it? By just changing, lenses. It's like, if I'm looking at life with these glasses, sometimes I can even do this consciously. I take off my glasses, and it's a good time to see how I'm looking here. I would take off my glasses and say like, okay, there's a better way to look at this. Does that mean I have to look at this blurry, from a blurry perspective? No, that just means like I was just looking at this thing with so much emphasis on, so much focus on, and I was just tunnel visioning the situation. So it's always good sometimes to really take off your glasses and really look at things just as they are, and with space. When you're looking at a movie, you can see all the details from far away, or you can actually bring yourself closer and just focus on a particular element or a particular thing. By the way, you guys, how do you like my lips? I'm using this amazing gloss by Fiore d'Amore, and this really has been increasing my lips. Like, as you can see, I didn't even use much, but just the gloss itself creates this effect of like lip balm that I'm really in love with. So I'm using also like some other products every day to kind of bomb my lips. All right, so I'm gonna go through one more question, and I'm gonna start getting ready because I have something going on in a little bit. And you're welcome to, I'm also live on TikTok. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, on TikTok, we don't have many people right now. There's one person on TikTok. Hello, stranger. Thanks for staying here. His name is Manuel Alvarez. Where are you from? You get VIP treatment because you're on TikTok. Okay, so one more question. What's a misconception people have about powerful women? I think powerful women scares people away. A lot of the times, powerful women are seen as the devil, in the same way how powerful men can be seen as the devil. And instead of seeing someone just through the darkness or through the negative connotation of, that figure, they should also be seen for something higher, for something divine, and considering, respecting that something divine can be God or the devil. and that these two forces, these two polarities can coexist in one entity, that belief itself could actually change and make a difference, and perhaps we would respect more powerful women or powerful men. Yeah. Last question. Do you feel more like a channel or a creator? Damn. That's the best question ever. I saved the best question for the end. Do you feel more like a channel or a creator? Alexa, pause. I feel like I'm a little bit of both. It depends on where I'm coming from. There will be times where I'm coming from a channel, and this is the perfect moment right now. I'm coming up as a channel. I'm answering questions that are directed to the creator essence in me. And there are times where I'm fully inspired and I'm coming from that creator, where I can really, make magic. Or maybe even during those moments as a creator, I'm also being a channel. Maybe in all moments, either as a creator or as a channel, we are being used by something, right? But the difference to me is when I'm being a channel is that channel, it's like filtering through thoughts, through things, and I'm choosing like consciously what's coming up. So like I'm talking to you here, there's all of that coming up. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. I'm just filtering, how to deliver the best to you who's out there. But when I'm actually at the creator space, there's no thinking, there's no filtering. It's just dawn. So during that moment, maybe I'm also being a channel, but it just feels more like natural, organic, as opposed to, filtering through thoughts. And this is why I don't extend much time in talks and even in lives like here, because I need to make sure what's actually coming is positive. So I gotta continue to cultivate and nurture that space within. So I'm not much like a talker, except when I'm of service, and except when I'm being pulled to do that, like I felt like doing this right now. So thank you, Dan, for this question. There are a few more that obviously I'm not gonna answer all of them now, so you guys will have to wait for me tomorrow or the next day. But in the meanwhile, feel free to message me on TikTok or Instagram about anything, really. I just love connecting with people who connect with my music. And if you haven't checked my YouTube channel yet, I just released a new music video. It's called Off Limits Kind. And I really like that. I'm about to start working on my next EP directly from LA, so looking forward to updating you guys on what's coming up. Peace and love. Thanks for staying with me till this point, and stay in peace.